So, this one is more, it's less about a particular video. It's more about an informal discussion. I know I'm 2 years late. But I'm going to start covering people, and I'm going to start offering and then updating my perspectives. Might turn this into a series, who knows. Sneako. Alright, what about this guy? Well, I heard he got cucked. So that's kind of the main thing he's known for. There's also pictures of him in dresses running around, which is also pretty cool. I don't know how. That one is actually worse, in my opinion, and I'll explain why. Because I have a nuanced perspective on his cucking situation. First of all, let me preface: it's disgusting. Do not support it. I think it's horrible. I think it's bad, but I also would maybe levy some tu quoques at the audience that is trying to attack him for it, because I think there's some important things to note. First off, I think probably the biggest thing to note is that the girl he's with they're not really serious. They're not really girlfriend, boyfriend. They're more like people you're just having sex with. And from my perspective, if you're just having sex with someone and you're not planning to commit to them, you're not showing any signs of trying to marry them or take care of them or buy them things or treat them like a girlfriend or, give them the princess treatment. You're just treating them like a date, like repeated friends with benefits, like a long-term hooker. Then I don't see a huge deal with, like, do you have to hyper monitor who they have sex with if they're not your girlfriend? Not really, right? I would also say that a lot of people who quote unquote call themselves girlfriend, boyfriend, really they're just friends with benefits. That's kind of, I have personal beef with the term girlfriend, boyfriend, because it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't tell you whether it's a serious fiance is planning to get married or if it's just two people looking to have sex. Maybe the guy is just, oh yeah, we're girlfriend, boyfriend, honey, and he's just stringing her along for sex, right? I'm sure that happens to dumb broads all the time. And then all of a sudden they're like, no, you gotta wait till marriage. They learned like 10 years too late. So I have personal beef with that term. And so when people say, like, oh, you did this thing, I don't really think it's that significant because most relationships nowadays aren't really that significant anyway. So if you and your girlfriend only really know each other because you go out to parties and you both drink together on the weekends and all you do is you just use each other for sex, then if one person cheats on the other person, I don't see it really as that significant because there was never a significant bond in the first place. It was just you were just using each other. You're just hookers, just hooking up. So, because I think most people would agree that if someone cheats on you, but you were just hookups, you're a one night stand, are you gonna care? Like if you have sex with a girl and then she goes and it's just a one night stand, you leave, are you going to be like, all right, now I'm going to get personally offended by every other guy she sleeps with next? No, right? So it's not as bad. And I think people overemphasize the merit behind the term boyfriend, girlfriend. I think it's pretty arbitrary. And it's a big problem with people having sex outside of marriage is that, okay, well, what do we put a boundary on in terms of relationships? If sex is no longer a defining attribute of a relationship, then what actually defines the relationship? Because if hookers can sleep together and random friends with benefits can sleep together, what makes you being boyfriend girlfriend more important or more significant than just being hookers? Right? And there's a lot of them are. That's the thing. It's like the boyfriend girlfriend term is an umbrella term that encapsulates people looking to get married or people who are just having sex repeatedly because it's convenient, right? You could also argue that, well, if you say sex is sacred and that there's a bond with everybody you have sex with, then you could argue that anybody you have sex with and then have a one night stand with and then they go and sleep with someone else after is also cucking. You could argue that. You could say, well, if every person you have sex with creates a bond just by the act of sex alone, therefore every single person you've had sex with that wasn't a virgin and is going around having sex after you is a form of cuckoldry. But most people wouldn't say that. Most people would be like, no, you don't have any commitment to those people, and they don't to you. So I'm saying, okay, well, why do you actually have a degree of commitment to a boyfriend girlfriend? On what basis? Because if random hookers that you have one night stands with, you don't have any commitment. Oh, but boyfriend girlfriend you do. Well, what do you actually do that's different? And it's like, well, he's nice to me, and he takes me on dates, and um guys take one night stands on dates, right? So that's very common. Oh, you get a free meal, I get a blowjob in the car afterwards. It's very vague. So, and a lot of boyfriend girlfriend relationships don't include all the romantic, nice stuff, right? So, not necessarily every relationship contains romantic gestures and all this kind of thing. And the other thing is, those can be lies, those can be fake. So, someone can string you along with these fake romantic gestures to appease you, to get more sex out of you. Oh, I really want to bang you tonight, so I'm going to take you out on a date and pretend like, oh, yeah, we're going to get married, honey. But really, he's just looking to hit it, and he's doing this with 3 other girls. So it could be fake. So these little normative, well, he kisses me goodnight, and he helps me with this, he helps me with that. Those things can be transactional. They aren't necessarily, or they can be deceptive. So they don't necessarily signal serious commitment. And this is really all accumulating to make the point that uh, unanchoring and disentangling sex from marriage and commitment and relationship kind of devastates the significance of relationships in general. Basically, relationships lose meaningful distinction and ontology when you uh, break them off from sex. That would be my argument, is that the things you then rely on to distinguish relationships, like, oh, we're boyfriend girlfriend, one, it's just arbitrary terms. So we just, oh, I guess we're boyfriend girlfriend now. Just on what basis? Never mind the fact that that could mean anything, or that tons of different people with completely different levels of commitment, completely different lifestyles, they could be polyamorous. They could be sleeping with 8 other people. They call themselves boyfriend girlfriend. Oh, he's my emotional boyfriend. Oh, so you go and sleep with 6 other dudes, but he's your boyfriend because he rubs your back when you get home, right? So the term means nothing because it could encapsulate an infinite number of potential types of relationships. So in the specific example of Sneako, where he's kind of just using this random hooker girl that he doesn't really know that well, and it didn't sound that serious. It just sounded like they were being weird and kinky and using each other. And in that context, I don't think he owes her a degree of commitment, nor does she. And I don't think there's a degree of real shame in that. Or if you are going to place shame on that as a random atheistic, secular like clown who isn't Christian, then you're inconsistent, because you would have to say that most people who engage in casual relationships are also cucks, and most people won't say that. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration. Now, if Sneako was like out buying her gifts and he was like doting on her and he was treating her like she was a valuable woman, then that kind of makes him a cuck. Not necessarily because the relationship is necessarily significant by these normative actions, but if he treats it like it's a significant relationship and then he also lets her sleep with other guys, then yeah, that's cucked. Because from his perspective, he thinks it's a serious relationship and he's letting her sleep with other guys, but I don't think he was. And from the interview, that's what it sounded like. It was just, oh, like we were about to break up anyway, and it's just a random thing. The only thing that kind of makes this bad is that it's not like he just let her go to a party and was like, oh, okay, fine, go to a party, go sleep with a guy, fine, whatever, right? Because that would be more forgivable, but he actively participated. So, yeah, I was kind of messed up. I can't remember. Did he actually want her to go and do it? I can't remember. So, yo. Sneako is a cuck. Maybe I'm wrong, bro. Yes, he also had the cuck experience. All is traumatic. So I would say the fact that he reacted all is traumatic. To me, that kind of proves it's not just boyfriend girlfriend. If you have like a traumatized cuck experience, then you're probably cuck. People just clowning on this guy. Yeah, I don't like Sneako particularly. So I'm not defending him per se. But just I think most people are hypocrites. I think most people who attack him for being a cuck will also engage in extremely perverse, degenerate fetishes, and it's totally acceptable. Most people will actively sleep around with tons of people, get a bunch of STDs, let their partners go out on date nights, and they're getting cucked too, and they're going to pretend that they're better than Sneako. The only difference is that Sneako is upfront and he's stupidly honest, and but he's equally degenerate. So yes, he is a degenerate, and he's a public figure, and he's honest, so it gets promoted and out in the open. But I'd say that most of the people criticizing him don't really have any better ground to stand on. Yeah, most people maybe don't take their girlfriends to sex parties. Agreed, fair enough. But I'd also say that there's a lot of relationships where, okay, you're letting her go on a girls' night out. There's a lot of guys getting cucked. That's all I'll say. There's a lot of other guys getting cucked who are, haha, look at Sneako the cook. It's like, okay, well, are you any better? Does your girlfriend stay at home and knit and do crochet, or does she go out and drink without supervision? Oh, what am I going to do? Control their life? Da, da, da. Okay, so now you suddenly see that these people are no better because they just let their girlfriends do whatever they want. They're dating non-virgins. They're dating whores. They're treating women with massive body counts like girlfriends, like potential wives, right? So I think he is the scapegoat because he is a public figure and he's obnoxious. So he takes the fall for a lot of these things, and but I think a lot of the people attacking him would be hypocrites. One thing that doesn't make him look good is that this seems to be not the first time. Like, it's clear he's a degenerate. Let's start there. Because it seems to be a pattern of behavior. There's pictures of him going around. Let's find it. Yeah, this type shit. This type shit, ladies and gents. Some interesting stuff. Yeah. Yeah, with jewelry. I'll say it. But I would also say that all these black guys wearing jewelry, wearing earrings, that's gay. Sorry, that's gay, bro. Why? Because this is really just an extension of that. Look, he's got the necklace, gay dress, gay fashion shit. It's an easy slippery slope from, oh, I'm just a black guy who wears earrings. That's completely normal. Oh, well, I'm just wearing a weird skinny top. That's normal. It's a slow, slippery slope from normative, emasculate tendencies to this gay shit. And that's what I would say about the cucking thing too. Is there's certain things that I would call degenerate and cucked that most people do, like treating whores like girlfriends and potential wives where they shouldn't. But because it's normatively accepted, nobody criticizes that. And I'm like, okay, well, if you guys are gonna get on your high horse on Sneako, then let's look at what everybody else is doing. Let's establish some real standards. And if we're gonna get so enthused about moral standards all of a sudden when it comes to Sneako, let's be consistent then. Let's start attacking people for wifing up non-virgins and trying to date and treat whores like wives and girlfriends and being all cute with your little harlot, right? So I think there's stuff like that. And then the other one is like black guys wearing earrings. That's overly normalized. Black dudes being effeminate. White guys being effeminate. People being effeminate in general needs to be kind of like stopped. So yes, he's an extreme. I'm not denying that. But I'm saying that most of the people attacking him also engage in often pretty similar degenerate behavior and get no flack for it. But suddenly this guy's the crucified dude. And part of it's because he's like obnoxious and openly he's openly anti-Semitic, so he gets attacked a lot, and he is a degenerate. Like, he definitely is a degenerate, no doubt about it. Nobody's questioning that. I don't support anything he does in terms of these things. I don't really support him being Muslim, because he suddenly, as soon as he became Muslim, his first debate was like, let's go talk to Charlie about the age of consent, which was a pretty, I covered that. That was a pretty ridiculous conversation. And yeah, I could rephrase kind of what happened in that debate and my perhaps updated perspective on the age of consent and the debate. Uh, I think fundamentally there is a huge harm and danger done when there's sexual acts involved with children. So I don't think it's just about the consent. I don't think it's only that children don't have the faculties to consent. I think even if they could consent as an 8-year-old, if they were mentally capable of realizing the consequences of their consent, I still think it would be bad and we should still ban it, because I think sexual activity with children is psychologically damaging in a massive way. We can see this when we look at people who engage in porn activity at a young age. So there's evidence to show that when children are exposed to sexualized content earlier, they generate more sexual fetishes, more sexual degeneracies, they perform worse in relationships, and overall things look worse in the stats. And this should be kind of obvious. Overexposing children to sexualized material is bad. Therefore, over sexualizing children when it comes to marriage and literal sex in a relationship is also going to be bad, right? Like, 9-year-olds can't engage in sex and not be traumatized, right? That's kind of my argument. It has less to do with, yeah, the consent's a problem. Like, the other problem is they don't have any consent. But a person could say, well, what about arranged marriages? Aren't arranged marriages valid and they don't require consent? It's like, yeah, well, there's some more problems there. One is that even in arranged marriages, the daughter usually has some say, or some that she can plead, or she can choose from a list of suitors, or she can outright like freak out and deny, or plead her father, please don't. Like, usually they have some say, or they have some kind of age equalization where they're both old enough to have some kind of power balance in the relationship, where it's not like in mentally incapable 8-year-old just obeying whatever their 23-year-old, 52-year-old husband says, right? Like, there's a certain danger present in that, I think, where they are particularly susceptible to power dynamics and brainwashing and anything else, right? Which, not to say that women aren't susceptible to that, but I'd say there's a particularly strong damage done, or particularly strong risk for massively negative power imbalances when someone's a literal child. I mean, it should be a pretty cut and dry argument too when you look at women aren't mature at 9 years old. So his argument that he made was that, well, just wait until the woman's mature. Okay, did Prophet Muhammad wait till she was mature when she was 9 years old before he married her? Can 9-year-olds have sex? Can 9-year-olds get pregnant? Are 9-year-olds mature? No, obviously not. 9-year-olds are not sexually mature. Obviously. Not even in question, right? So they're not even physically mature. So if your argument was going to be that, well, at least they're physically mature, they can consent. Well, they're not even that. So how are they going to be able to safely engage in procreation when they can't even procreate? When their physical hardware, their biology is not... Because some people will say, I think the age of consent should be when they're fertile. That's a semi-valid, like, okay, we can have a conversation. We could talk about it. Like, that's not the most evil, insane, oh my gosh, like 16. That's not the most insane criminal thing to have a debate about. I would still say 18, me personally. But if someone wanted to say 16, I could see them having a valid argument, maybe. But if you're gonna say like 9, oh well, 9 years old is completely valid. It's like, okay, they can't even engage in the procreative act. Why are they getting married, and why can they consent to the procreative act when they can't even procreate? It's like, why are you eating the fruit when it's not even ripe? It's just abusing the fruit and the purpose of the fruit. Um, so yeah, so now he's Muslim and he has kind of insane takes like this, like we should be allowed to have sex with 9-year-olds. And you're like, okay, Sneako. Which is an entailment of your religion because that's what your prophet did. It's pretty concrete that your prophet, at age 52 or so, slept with a 9-year-old, and Iraq's new law allowing children as young as 9 to marry. Hmm. Hmm. 9 years old. I wonder what that's based off. Why 9? Why the number 9? No clue. Could it be that your prophet married a 9-year-old? I think that was the justification. I could go read the story. You can go read it for yourself. Uh, so yeah, let me. How do I sum up Sneako? I appreciate his honesty. I appreciate his openness. Generally, he's pretty open. He's been confronted by a few Orthodox Christians, and he kind of gets into his Muslim self, and he starts just getting aggressive and combative when it's inconvenient. But he's pretty honest. He's pretty out there and authentic. He tries to be. But then there's other times when he's a total degen. So I think he is very degenerate. I think he lacks self-awareness. How are you going to promote yourself as this red pill guy and cheer on masculinity when you're out there getting cucked and there's literally pictures of you in dresses? So how do these red pill macho, hyper emphasizing on traditional masculinity guys? I'm not saying Sneako's an alpha male, obviously not. That would be a ridiculous claim. But why the hyper emphasis on masculinity when you clearly don't fit the profile, right? Like if you were truly gonna focus on masculinity, wouldn't you be saying like, hey, maybe don't be cuck, hey Jack Murphy, maybe instead of telling people how to, I don't know, raise your testosterone with supplements, maybe you could tell them how to not let dudes fuck their girlfriend, right? Maybe you could tell, hey Sneako, maybe you could tell guys how to avoid taking pictures in dresses, how to avoid being a sexual degen and letting your wife or your girlfriend sleep with other dudes right in front of you while you watch. Maybe you could avoid that. Maybe that would be a good starting point for masculinity, is that, as opposed to debating whether or not, like, I don't know, women should be in the kitchen or not. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I agree, you're kind of right, but I don't think you even have any kind of a foundation for yourself. You kind of lack the self-awareness to do these things for yourself. And that should really be the starting point. A degree of humility. And I'm not saying you can't make commentary on the world. It's just, if you are going to, then you should also lead by example and not be a total degenerate. And like, because no masculine guy is going to look at Sneako and be like, oh yeah, that's a guy you should listen to. He's cucked. He's pictures of him in dresses. He dresses like a fag. Like, he looks like a fag. He acts like a fag. Like, I'm sorry, but this guy is not somebody you should be listening to for masculinity advice. This guy is like a closeted homo. He's a New York faggot. I'm sorry. But he's out there and he's authentic. I just think he lacks a degree of humility and he lacks self-awareness. And he's a total degenerate in many aspects. And I think that's why he's avoiding Christianity. I think he's avoiding Christianity because he couldn't be a bombastic degenerate if he was a Christian. Because the Christian community would go, hey, Sneako, don't run around smoking weed at these sex parties. Hey, Sneako, don't be on social media talking about your Bugatti and posting about bitches and hoes and drugs and weed, maybe you should not do that. Maybe you should engage in austerity, right? But that's what he needs. That's what someone like Sneako needs. Is he needs spiritual discipline. He doesn't have any. He never has. That's his biggest weakness, is he doesn't have any spiritual discipline. So he turns to Islam because it gives him this fake sense of spiritual accomplishment without actually having to address the specific things that he's lacking. Instead, he just picks the religion that's convenient for where he's at currently. So that's my assessment of Sneako. Let me know what you think. If you agree, disagree, leave a comment, you bastard. Fucking don't just watch the video and leave, you bastard. Leave a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Don't be afraid. I'll only slightly... I might make a video about your comment. That's all. Don't worry. But seriously, I would very much appreciate your comments and your insight, because I'm trying to be self-aware. I'm trying to be pious and trying to be humble. Look how humble I am, asking the audience for their perspective upon my platform. But I do like people's perspectives. It's useful. So let me know what you think. I'm not claiming to be the most like alpha. Oh, I'm super alpha male. But I at least have the self-awareness to go, I'm not going to preach hypermasculinity, or I'm not going to preach on something that I clearly don't even have the basics in. That's my general thing with Sneako, is he talks all these big bombastic statements. It's like, okay, but Sneako, you're kind of faggot. You're kind of faggy. You know what I mean? Like you don't represent very well, dude. Maybe you should be better, right? And he's not principled. He has no real principles, right? So he's gonna get on his high horse and do all these. He has all these takes, right? But it's like, you're a degenerate, dude. So that's more my thing with Sneako. All right, I will see everybody later. Take care.